There are 3 rules when you drive a freight train through the Appalachian Mountains at 2 in the morning. Rule 1. Keep your high beams on, but never focus on the tree line. Rule 2. If you see a red signal light in Sector 4, you do not stop. You radio dispatch, you lay on the horn, and you plow through it. It's a glitch. It's always a glitch. And Rule 3. If you hear walking on the roof of the engine, you lock the cabin door, you put on your noise-canceling headphones, and you pray to whatever God you believe in that the tunnel is coming up soon. My name is Jack. I've been an engineer for the Great Eastern Railway for 20 years. I pull what we call the Deadhead Run, empty cargo containers going from Kentucky to Virginia. It's a boring job. It's loud, it's dirty, and it's lonely. Just me, 2,000 tons of steel, and the endless dark of the mountains. Last Tuesday, the fog was thick. The kind of fog that doesn't just sit on the ground, it presses against the glass. I couldn't see more than 50 feet ahead of the cow catcher. We were chugging along at 40 miles per hour. The diesel engine was humming, a rhythmic vibration that rattles your teeth. I had a thermos of black coffee and a podcast playing in one ear. We were entering Sector 4, the Black Ribbon. It's a 20-mile stretch of track with no crossings, no towns, and no cell service. Just steep cliffs on one side and a drop-off into the river on the other. That's when I saw it. A light, red, hanging in the mist ahead. "Dispatch, this is engine 409, I grumbled into the radio. "I got a red signal at mile marker 88, confirming it's a phantom. Over." The radio hissed. Static. That was normal for the Black Ribbon. "Dispatch, I am proceeding through the signal. Log it." I reached for the horn cord. I was ready to blast through just like the manual said. But as the train got closer, I saw that it wasn't a signal light. It was a flare. Someone was standing in the middle of the tracks, waving a red road flare. Reflexes took over. I forgot the rules. I slammed the emergency brake. The wheels locked. Sparks showered the night. The screech of metal on metal was deafening. The whole cabin shook violently, throwing my coffee against the windshield. We slid for a quarter mile. The smell of burning brake pads filled the air. Finally, the beast shuddered to a halt. Silence. Just the tick-tick-tick of the cooling engine and the heavy thrum of the idle diesel. "You idiot," I whispered to myself. "You stopped. You actually stopped." I looked out the front window. The flare was gone. The fog swirled in the beams of the headlights. There was no one on the tracks. "Hello?" I yelled. My voice sounded small in the massive cab. I grabbed my flashlight. Protocol said I had to inspect the lead bogies for damage after an emergency stop. I didn't want to go out there. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to lock the door and throttle up. But I needed this job. I grabbed the heavy iron wrench from under the seat, just in case, and opened the side door. The air was freezing. It smelled like ozone and something else. Something like wet copper. I climbed down the ladder, my boots crunching on the gravel ballast. I swept the beam of my light under the wheels. Everything looked fine. Hot, but fine. Then I heard it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Footsteps. Slow, heavy footsteps coming from the other side of the train. "Hey, you trespassing? You nearly got yourself killed." No answer. Just the wind howling through the trees. I walked around the front of the engine, gripping the wrench until my knuckles turned white. I rounded the corner. There was nobody there. But on the gravel, there were footprints. Wet, bare footprints. They led from the woods, across the tracks, and right up to the ladder of the engine. My blood ran cold. I looked up at the open door of the cabin, the door I had just left open. The light inside the cabin flickered out. I scrambled up the ladder. I didn't care about safety. I vaulted into the cabin and slammed the door, locking the deadbolt. "Who's there?" I screamed, shining my flashlight into the dark corners of the cab. It was empty. The bulb had just blown. Just a coincidence, right? I sat back in the engineer's chair, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I reached for the throttle. "Let's get the hell out of here," I muttered. The throttle wouldn't move. It was stuck. I yanked on it. Nothing. The air pressure gauges were dropping. We had lost pressure in the brake lines. Someone, or something, had uncoupled the air hoses between the cars. I was stuck, miles from civilization, with something outside. Then came the sound from rule number 3. Thump, thump, thump. Walking, heavy, deliberate steps, on the roof, right above my head. I stopped breathing. I stared up at the metal ceiling. It was a solid sheet of steel, but it sounded like whoever was up there weighed 500 pounds. The footsteps walked from the back of the engine, toward the front, toward the windshield. A hand swung down in front of the glass. It hung there, upside down. It wasn't a hand. It was too long. It had too many joints. The skin was gray like old ash, and the fingernails were black claws tapping gently against the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Slowly, a face lowered itself into view. It was upside down, looking in at me. No eyes, just smooth gray skin where eyes should be, and a mouth that was sewn shut with rusty wire. It didn't scream. It didn't roar. It just vibrated. A low subsonic hum that I felt in my teeth. My vision started to blur. I felt sick. I grabbed the emergency flare gun from the survival kit. I didn't think. I just reacted. "Get off my train!" I popped the side window open, just a crack, and fired the flare blindly upward. A shriek tore through the night. Not a human scream. It sounded like metal tearing. The weight on the roof vanished. I heard a heavy thud on the gravel outside. The adrenaline gave me focus. I didn't check to see if it was dead. I jumped out, ran to the coupling, reconnected the air hose with trembling hands, and scrambled back inside. I threw the throttle to max. The engine roared. The wheels spun, screeching for traction before finally biting the rail. Part 4. The tunnel. We were moving. 10 miles per hour, 20, 30. I kept checking the mirrors. In the red glow of the taillights, I saw them. Not just one, dozens, pale, lanky figures emerging from the tree line. They were running on all fours, galloping like wolves, keeping pace with the train. We were hitting 50 miles per hour, and they were gaining on me. They were swarming the cargo containers behind me. The tunnel, the Black Ridge Tunnel. It was 2 miles ahead. Legend said they couldn't go into the tunnels. The noise amplified in there. It hurt them. "Come on, come on," I begged the engine. One of them landed on the side of the engine. I saw its face pressed against the side window. It was chewing on the glass. I could hear the safety glass cracking. Crack! A web of fractures appeared. It hissed. It was going to break through. Then, darkness. We hit the tunnel. The sound of the engine in the enclosed space was deafening. A roar of thunder. I heard the creature shriek as the sonic pressure hit it. It fell away, tumbling into the dark. I didn't slow down. I drove that train at max speed all the way to the Richmond depot. When I pulled into the yard, the sun was coming up. The yardmaster asked me why my hair was white. I told him it was the stress. He looked at the engine. He looked at the claw marks gouged into the steel roof. He looked at the shattered side window. He didn't ask any more questions. He just signed my logbook and handed me a bottle of whiskey. I still drive the Deadhead Run. I have a mortgage. I have bills. I can't quit. But now, I made a modification to the cabin. I welded the side doors shut, and I keep a loaded shotgun on the dashboard. Because last night, even though I didn't stop, I heard the walking on the roof again. And this time, it sounded like there were 2 of them.